Hey, welcome back to another installment of Star Citizen. The 3.8 release brought some really great changes to mining, but they were changes beyond the introduction of the mole and the new mining heads. A change that hasn't been talked about very much is a change to the actual rock contents themselves, and that significantly changed the strategy of how we go out and mine. So let's talk about that. I see the question come up over and over again in chat. What's the best ore to mine? And where do I get this ore? The typical responses are, you want to mine Terranite, or Laranite, or Borace, or Agricium, something like that. One of these really high value ores that when you go to sell them, give you the highest return on each unit. The idea of going for those high value ores is still a perfectly viable strategy. But what they've done is they've increased the amount of the low value ores that appear in a lot of the rocks. At first I thought it might have been just some luck or my imagination that I was seeing this, but I've confirmed it over and over and over again, where I'll go to a rock and it's got a very high concentration of things like corundum, tungsten, copper, some of these lower value ores that are still worth something. And when I'm breaking the rocks down, I think they might have changed a little bit how that fracturing works. It's been very common for me to get either 100% of a given ore or 100% of a combination of ores in a single rock, particularly of these low value ones. So how does this change the game? I've been doing a lot of mining in the asteroid belt that I talked about in one of my videos. You can go out there, drop out of quantum, and within just a minute or two, you can usually find one or more rocks to be able to mine. When I go to these rocks, I'm getting these very high percentages, these very high quantities. Now, mining in an asteroid field is also a little bit easier than mining on the ground. You have a full 3D X, Y, and Z axis ability to be able to get to each side of the rock, and you're not having to worry about nudging rocks out of the way to get to a chunk underneath or maybe overlooking one that might just be buried on top of some of the rubble. So it's very easy to get to, and you can mine these things up. Now, being in space,
the final frontier.
I also save the time of having to move through an atmosphere and get down to a moon or planet surface to be able to mine. The place where you're going to mine and the place where you're going to sell can both factor in. For instance, it's very easy to get in and out of Levski, and I can go to the asteroid belt, find one of these ores right away, mine it up, really come back with maybe only 5% inert material, get that pure product of these low value ores to go back and sell it. So my investment in time round trip is very short. That's a good thing. So to be clear about locations, I've found these high quantity, low value ores, not just in the asteroids, but also on the surfaces. A place like Selene, Yela, any one of the moons.
The forest moon of Endor.
So how do these ores actually translate into profit? Now that they've increased the amount of content, what am I bringing in now that I'm really not having to worry too much about dragging back a lot of inert material? Well, it turns out it's pretty good. I've done this over and over, and I've gotten a really consistent 10,000 UEC sort of minimum credit that I'm bringing back on each run. And that's with a very low value ore like corundum. If I can throw in a little beryl or tungsten, gold, anything like that, it just assures that 10K and even increases that beyond 10K usually. Every now and again it's a little less, but sometimes it's a bit more. So rather than spending my time searching for a particularly good, nice rock, that Laranite rock, that Agricium or Terranite rock, I'm spending my time actually just grabbing the first rock that I can find that has that high, low value content and bringing it back. Now I have been lucky, and sometimes when I go out to mine, that first rock that I find does turn out to be one of those really great high value rocks. There's nothing wrong with taking that rock. And there's a lot of excitement around that approach. I mean, your heart does get pumping once you've got that over 30K load and you're wanting to try to get back to be able to sell it before you get griefed, or maybe worse yet, a game crash. But the strategy now is that I'm not overlooking a corundum rock or a barrel rock, some of these lower value things, because it turns out they can really pay off. And that's because of this near 100% content that I'm now finding. Take this rock here. I'm really not in it for the laranite. At these percentages, the copper is going to bring in 2.6 times what the laranite will. And even the tungsten, which is fairly cheap, it only sells for 3.73 UEC per unit, it's still going to give me 1.56 times what the laranite will. So it's not something you want to leave behind. We can look more closely at this data about when the rock broke down. And again, it's really not the laranite you're after, it's icing on the cake. The diamonds are worth about equal to what the laranite is. The copper's worth a little bit more than the laranite, but it's really the tungsten, that lowest value item because of the higher percentage, that's really going to give you the most profit.
Many Bothans died to bring us this information.
So what's the overall message here? The message is that the higher percentages of these lower value rocks can wind up being your moneymaker. They're fairly easy to fracture with lower instabilities and lower resistances, and they're much more common to find. You're going to be stumbling across these corundums and tungstens all over the place, so you don't have to spend a lot of time searching for them. Now, both methods of mining can be quite fun. If you've got a couple hours to spend and go searching and overlooking some of the lower value rocks because you really are looking for that high piece of terranite out there, then that's great. But many people don't always have big chunks of time. You might only just have 30 minutes to an hour to get on the game and do something. Well, if you're a miner, these higher percentages give you that ability. You can go out, quickly find a rock, and do 2, maybe even 3 runs in an hour, and be relatively assured that you're gonna have a return, as opposed to getting skunked because you never found that great rock. With these new percentages, having inert materials in your cargo is not so much a problem with deficiency in the game or your prospector or mole being able to filter them out. It comes down to now player strategy. You can eliminate almost all these inerts just by making the right selections. I personally have a great feeling of coming home with almost 100% material, even if it's of these lower values. So go out there, grab some of that trash that other people are leaving behind, and make some bank. To celebrate having 1,000 subscribers, this month I'm giving away a C8X Pisces with lifetime insurance and a game package. So if you've been wanting to get into Star Citizen, this is a good giveaway for you. It's been donated courtesy of player Algae and in the name of the READ organization. READ focuses on science, logistics, and engineering, which includes the trading and mining we have right now, future salvage, exploration, and the science mechanics, that sort of thing when it comes into play. It's a laid-back organization that also has a focus on collaboration and has a defense division to keep those logistics of trading and mining and so on safe. If you would like to enter, just type the keyword Pisces into one of the comments below for the month of January. If you got anything out of this, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll be talking to you later.